How can one man, born into poverty and obscurity, rise to reshape the destiny of millions? Joseph Stalin, born Ioseb Vissarionis Dze Jugashvili in the small town of Gori, Georgia in 1878, would become one of the most powerful and controversial figures in history. His early life was marked by hardship and struggle, growing up in a family plagued by poverty and an abusive father. Yet, from these humble beginnings, he would ascend to the pinnacle of power in the Soviet Union. How can a name evoke both awe and terror, admiration and revulsion, decades after its owner's death? Stalin's rule was characterized by rapid industrialization, the collectivization of agriculture, and the Great Purge, a campaign of political repression that led to the deaths of millions. His image was carefully crafted through propaganda, portraying him as the father of nations and a hero of the working class. Yet behind this facade lay a regime of fear and brutality. This is the enigma of Joseph Stalin, a figure shrouded in paradox and stained with the blood of millions. His policies transformed the Soviet Union into a global superpower, but at an unimaginable human cost. The purges, the forced labor camps known as gulags, and the widespread famine caused by his policies left a legacy of suffering and death. Yet, some still view him as a necessary force who modernized Russia and defeated Nazi Germany. His story is a chilling reminder of the seductive nature of power and the human capacity for both extraordinary cruelty and extraordinary resilience. Stalin's ability to manipulate and control those around him, his ruthless elimination of rivals, and his unwavering belief in his own vision for the Soviet Union are both fascinating and horrifying. His impact on the 20th century is undeniable, and his legacy continues to be a subject of intense debate and study. To understand Stalin, we must journey back to the time and place of his birth, to the shadows where a tyrant was forged. It is in the streets of Gori, amidst the struggles of his early life, that we begin to see the formation of a man who would go on to change the course of history. His story is not just one of power and terror, but also of the complex interplay of personal ambition, historical forces, and the darker aspects of human nature. Born Joseph Vissarionovich Jugashvili in the humble village of Gori, Georgia, in 1878, Stalin's early life was marked by hardship. His father, a cobbler, was a violent drunk, often taking out his frustrations on his family. The small village of Gori, with its dirt roads and modest homes, was a place where dreams seemed distant and survival was the primary concern. His father's alcoholism and abusive behavior cast a long shadow over Stalin's childhood. The cobbler's shop, which should have been a place of craftsmanship and pride, became a source of fear and instability. The young Stalin often witnessed his father's violent outbursts, which left an indelible mark on his psyche. His devoutly religious mother, a washerwoman, struggled to provide for her son. Despite her own hardships, she was determined to give Stalin a better life. She worked tirelessly, washing clothes for the wealthier families in the village, hoping to save enough to send her son to school. Her faith and resilience were a beacon of hope in Stalin's otherwise tumultuous life. A bout of smallpox left Stalin's face scarred, a physical reminder of the poverty and adversity that defined his youth. The disease, which was rampant in the impoverished areas of Georgia, did not spare him. The scars were a constant reminder of the harsh realities of his early life, but they also fueled his determination to rise above his circumstances. But even as a young man, Stalin possessed a sharp intellect and an unyielding will. He was not content to be defined by his hardships. His mother's sacrifices and his own experiences of suffering instilled in him a fierce drive to succeed. He immersed himself in his studies, often staying up late into the night, reading by the dim light of a candle. He excelled in school, showing a particular aptitude for languages and literature. His teachers recognized his potential and encouraged him to pursue further education. Stalin's love for reading opened up new worlds for him far beyond the confines of his small village. Books became his escape and his inspiration. It was during these formative years that he first encountered the writings of Karl Marx, texts that would ignite a revolutionary fire in his soul. The ideas of class struggle and social justice resonated deeply with him, given his own experiences of poverty and oppression. These revolutionary texts became the foundation of his political beliefs, and set him on a path that would eventually lead to his rise as one of the most powerful and controversial figures in history. Drawn to the promise of equality and justice espoused by Marxism, Stalin joined the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party in his early 20s. He quickly distinguished himself as a capable organizer and ruthless enforcer, engaging in criminal activities like bank robberies to fund the party. His unwavering commitment to the cause, coupled with a chilling disregard for human life, caught the attention of Vladimir Lenin, the leader of the Bolshevik faction. Lenin recognized Stalin's potential as a valuable, albeit dangerous, asset. Following the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, Stalin's ascent to power began. He cunningly maneuvered himself into key positions within the Communist Party, consolidating his power base. The death of Lenin in 1924 presented Stalin with the opportunity he craved. He outmaneuvered his rivals, using a combination of propaganda, intimidation, and outright violence to eliminate any opposition. The secret police, later known as the NKVD, became his instrument of terror, silencing dissent and instilling fear in the hearts of millions. With an iron grip on the Soviet Union, Stalin embarked on a series of brutal campaigns to transform the nation into an industrialized superpower. His collectivization policies aimed at modernizing agriculture resulted in the deaths of millions of peasants through starvation and forced labor. The gulags, a vast network of prison camps scattered across the Soviet wasteland, became synonymous with unimaginable suffering and death. Millions of innocent people, deemed enemies of the state, were sent to these camps where they endured backbreaking labor, starvation, and torture. The human cost of Stalin's ambition was staggering. The Great Patriotic War. When Hitler's armies invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, it marked the beginning of one of the most devastating conflicts in human history. The German forces, under the codename Operation Barbarossa, launched a massive and brutal assault, aiming to conquer the Soviet territories swiftly. Faced with this existential threat, Stalin rallied his people to defend the motherland. He delivered impassioned speeches, urging every man, woman, and child to contribute to the war effort. Soviet propaganda played a crucial role in uniting the populace, portraying the conflict as a sacred duty to protect their homeland. The Great Patriotic War, as it became known in the Soviet Union, was a brutal conflict that tested the limits of human endurance. The Eastern Front saw some of the most ferocious battles, with cities like Stalingrad and Leningrad becoming symbols of Soviet resistance. The destruction was immense, with entire cities reduced to rubble and millions of lives lost. Stalin's leadership during the war was characterized by both strategic brilliance and ruthless pragmatism. He made difficult decisions, often sacrificing countless lives to achieve military objectives. His ability to inspire and intimidate in equal measure kept the Soviet war machine running, even in the darkest times. He demanded unwavering loyalty from his people, urging them to fight to the death against the Nazi invaders. The Soviet citizens, driven by a mix of fear, patriotism, and sheer willpower, rose to the challenge. They worked tirelessly in factories, fought bravely on the front lines, and endured unimaginable hardships. The Soviet victory in World War II came at an unimaginable cost, with millions of soldiers and civilians losing their lives. The war left deep scars on the Soviet Union, but it also forged a sense of unity and resilience that would define the nation for decades to come. The sacrifices made during the Great Patriotic War are remembered and honored to this day, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Soviet people. The Iron Curtain descends. Despite the victory over Nazi Germany, Stalin's paranoia and mistrust of the West only intensified in the post-war era. He viewed the United States and its allies as existential threats, determined to undermine the Soviet Union. This suspicion fueled the Cold War, a decades-long ideological and geopolitical struggle that divided the world. Stalin's policies during this period, characterized by repression at home and aggression abroad, had a profound impact on the course of the 20th century. Stalin's ghost. Joseph Stalin died in 1953, leaving behind a complex and deeply troubling legacy. He was a man of contradictions, a ruthless dictator who transformed the Soviet Union into a global superpower at an unimaginable human cost. His crimes against humanity are undeniable, his name forever etched in history as a symbol of tyranny and oppression. Yet even today, decades after his death, Stalin's legacy continues to be debated and re-examined. Echoes of terror. In Russia and the former Soviet republics, the wounds of Stalin's reign are still fresh. Millions of families continue to grapple with the loss of loved ones, their stories silenced for decades under Soviet rule. The debate over Stalin's legacy is not merely an academic exercise. It is a deeply personal and emotional issue that continues to shape the political and social landscape of the region. The echoes of Stalin's terror serve as a chilling reminder of the fragility of freedom and the importance of vigilance in the face of tyranny.